Hello everybody, welcome to my next Allegro Volume 2 tutorial, and this tutorial you're going to be learning about the camera class. I'm sorry that I haven't made a video for a while. My laptop charger broke and that's what I had my compiler and everything on. So yeah, as you've can probably notice, I'm using a different compiler. I'm using Dev C++. The reason being I still don't have a charger, so I am using somebody else's computer, so I didn't want to download such a big file as Visual Studio. So the code is going to be the same as Dev C++, so there should be no problems. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thanks for watching right now. Okay, so this tutorial is just gonna be on screen scrolling in the camera class and stuff. So right now we're gonna create the camera class. So we have to create camera.h and camera.cpp. And in Visual Studio I showed you how to create a class, so just create the camera class, and I have camera.h and camera.cpp. And there's one more file that we have to add. Um and we're gonna name it global, and make sure it's a header file, so it's global.h. And right now in the global file we're gonna define two things. We're gonna put define screen width and set that to 800, and define screen height to 600. So oh sorry, I gotta just save these files. So remember how we set our initial screen width and screen height to 800 by 600. So all we're really doing is defining that the screen width is 800 and the screen height is 600. So once you do that, go to your main file and include global.h, right? And where it says set GFX mode, and where it says 800 by 600, just replace it by putting screen width and putting screen height. And the reason why we're doing this is, say you want to change the screen height of the program. Instead of changing, there's going to be multiple things that are going to need to know what the screen width and the screen height are. Once you change it in the global.h, then it will change it globally throughout the whole program. And this kind of sounds confusing now, but you'll understand what I mean when I create the camera class for you. So let's go to camera.h. So let's include Allegro, and let's include global.h. Simple enough. So let's create a camera class. Don't forget that semicolon at the end. And we're going to make it public and private. Now in the private part, just put int camera x and camera y. That's the only part that's going to be in the private area. And private means that it can't be used by any other class or anything throughout the program, unless it's like using inheritance or something like that, which we're not going to get into. So right now let's create our constructor, our destructor, init update, and in the update we're going to put in x and y, void draw bitmap, and name it buffer. And we're going to put another function, set position. Now this is going to go in the update function. You don't need this set position function. You could put whatever I'm going to put in this function right here, you can put it in the update function, but I just rather separate and just have different functions to know that, what's going on. So anyways, let's include camera.h, and let's create our constructor and our destructor. Wow. Okay. and a knit. And right now on our knit, let's just set, to be on the safe side, set camera X to 0, camera Y to 0, and void camera update int X int Y, and put camera set position. Just put the value and parameter. Remember in here, I have my set position, and that's gonna be in the update function. So anyways, let's go to our draw. And bitmap to the buffer, and I'll do this later. So let's create our set position function. Set position in X and Y. So what we're gonna do is set camera X, just like in my screen scrolling tutorials. I'm gonna camera X is gonna be equal to X minus screen width divided by 2. Now remember, in my the initial screen width is 800, right? So I could easily put camera X equal to the player's X position. That's what the X is. So player X subtract screen width divided by 2. I mean divide X minus 800 divided by 2. But why did I put screen width? Well, say I change the screen width to 600, right? Then that means I'd have to go to my main.cpp, then I have to change it, the initial width to 600, then I have to go to my camera class, and then change this to 600, and then for every other thing that's used, for every other class that's using the width and the height, I'd have to change that individually. Well, with our global class, or our global header file, we just have to change this value in here, and then we'll change it throughout the whole program. That's what I meant earlier. So if I change to 600, then it will affect everything that uses it, and there will be no errors in your program. So this is why this is a better method to go when you're dealing with something that uses multiple when multiple classes are going to be using like one variable name or something like that. So anyways, let's do the same thing for camera Y. So subtract screen height divided by 2, and it's our if statement. If camera X is less than 0, sorry for this, is less than 0, camera X is equal to 0. Don't put else if camera Y is less than 0, then camera Y is equal to 0. I don't know if I explained this in my screen scrolling tutorials, but you do not put else if, because these two statements could be true in the same time around. They could be true, so you want both of them to execute. Cause say both camera X and camera Y were less than 0, and I put this to else if, then it would execute this. It would say, yeah, camera X is less than 0, so set camera X to 0. And then since it's an else if statement, it would skip it because this statement was true. But camera Y would still be less than 0. So what you want to do is just put if, so it can execute both if both are true. Hope you understood that. Now to our draw function. What we're gonna be doing is gonna put blit buffer to the screen, and for our source X and our source Y, it's gonna be camera X and camera Y, because this is where we want to start drawing from. So when you start screen scrolling, we're gonna sorry, I'm kind of sick. So when we start screen scrolling, we want to scroll from the camera's X position and the camera's Y position. And for the destination X and the destination Y, we want to say where to start drawing on the screen from. So you want to draw it from the 0, 0 position. And the screen width, and for the width and the height, we just put screen width and screen height. So basically, just like in the global, if you change this, it will change the whole program. So that's it for the camera class. Let's go back to main. I've already included camera.h, and yeah, we've already changed this. So we created I already created an instance in my camera class, so I just named it lowercase camera, and I initialized it. So now in our update section, I update the camera's position after the player. Make sure it's after the player, because you know how we set our camera position according to the player's X position. When the player in the player update section, that's when they do their controls, and that's when the player moves and stuff. So when the player moves, then we want to set the camera accordingly to where the player moved, right? If we put it before, then it won't move according to where the player is. It'll be a sort of a delay effect. So make sure you put it after. And to get the X position, the player's X position, just put player.x, and because the instance of the player class, and player.y, and that's all you have to put in the parameters. Now in the draw function, since camera.draws when we put everything to the screen, you put it after everything, so we put it after the player draw function, and yeah, we draw everything to from the buffer to the screen, and that should be it. And I'm not sure if my other tutorials, if I had a rest function here. I took it out because I don't really want it anymore, because since we have frames per second, I don't think we need it. Like, you could still use a rest, but I'm not going to use it now. I might put it back in later, but I don't feel like using it now. So that's basically it. And one thing I should let you know, in my player class, I added a new variable called jump speed, and I just set it equal to -15. I will talk about that more when we get into gravity. And I made a new function called set position. You know how I put x plus equals velocity x in the controls function? I just decided to separate it. So that's all it is. So now let's test this program. Oh, sorry, I just made an error in the spelling. And here it is. So when you move it, there's no real background, so you're not going to see a background scrolling, but it's going to stop moving after a while. Then when you move it left, then it's going to move back after a while. So that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and bye. And the next one's going to be on creating maps. So thanks for watching.